You're watching Nichols Golf. Like, subscribe, and share this channel with your friends who also want to get better at golf.
Okay, here's the situation. You've been asked by your friends or your coworkers to go play in a charity golf outing, and they make it sound like it's going to be a great time. You're going to get out of the office for a day. You're going to be out in the sun, having maybe a few drinks and having a great time on the course. And the way they describe it, it sounds really fun and you kind of want to go. But there's one problem. You don't play golf. So you think you might drag the team down and not help them win, or you might embarrass yourself because of the fact that you don't play. Well, this video is going to go over the exact reason you should still, in spite of all that, say, yes, I'll play in that charity outing. Hi, I'm Paul Nichols, and I'm a golf instructor, have been for over 20 years. And currently I teach at the On Target driving range here on Indiana State Road 3, just north of Greensburg. Okay, so let's talk about the idea of going and playing in a charity golf outing when maybe you haven't played golf before, or you don't play hardly ever, and you think you're going to drag the team down or hold them back from winning. Well, I have played in a ton of charity golf outings in my time in the sport. And let me tell you, there's basically two types of people who play in charity golf outings. One, there's the competitive player who tries to put a stacked team together to go and win the outing. And two, there's the people who just want to go out, get out of the office, get out in the sun, have a few drinks, have some laughs, and just have a good time on the golf course for a day instead of being in the office. Let me tell you this. If the people who have asked you to play knew you don't really play a lot of golf, then they're type 2. They're not interested in winning the outing. They're going out just to have a good time, represent their organization, supporting a great charity, or just doing it on their as an individual going out and supporting a great charity. And there's no pressure to win the outing. So put that out of your mind. That's taken care of. Nobody's asking you to play to try to win the outing. All they want to do is have a good time. Okay, so now let's talk about the issue of, oh, I don't want to embarrass myself out there because I don't play very much or I never play. Well, trust me, in all the outings I've played in, there's all kinds of embarrassment that goes on in the outing. And it's not just because of people who don't play very much. Quite honestly, there's just a whole lot of fun being had, and everybody's going to get embarrassed at one point or another. So you're not going to be alone in feeling a little embarrassed for whatever reason. So both of those reasons are taken care of. So now you have no excuse. Say, yes, I'll play. So now you think, okay, so I do want to try to help the team a little bit. I don't want to embarrass myself too much. I want to be able to hit some good shots while I'm out there. Okay, now we're going to dig into that. So I'm going to go over the basics right now to help you know just enough so that you can go out and maybe hit some really good shots while you're out there and not be completely embarrassed the entire time. All right? So first, let's talk terminology. You got to know a little bit of the lingo so you at least know what people are talking about when you're out there. So let's get into golf clubs. What you see me holding in my hand right now is called an iron. And all the majority of the irons will have a number on their sole, which tells you what kind of iron they are. This has the number 7 on it, so it's a 7 iron. The shorter irons are referred to as wedges, and there are different types of wedges. My particular pitching wedge has just a P on it. Sometimes you'll see PW, sometimes you'll see SW, sometimes you'll see A or G, but those are all wedges. That's all you need to know. Then, the club with the biggest head on it is called the driver. This is the one you use off the tee on the majority of the long holes. This is the club that hits the ball the farthest. It has the longest shaft and the biggest head. Then between that and the irons, you have what are called hybrids. This is a smaller wood head, and so it's just kind of a combination, be somewhere between an iron and a wood. And then this is a putter. This is what you use to putt the ball on the green. And putters come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And then when you do use your driver, you'll put the ball on something like this. This is called a tee. So you stick that in the ground, you put the ball on it, and then you'll use this. Okay, so now let's get into the basics, the absolute basics of how to hold and swing a club. Okay, so I'll get a little bit closer so you can see. On most clubs, the grip, which is the handle, the part of the club that you hold, the grip will have a logo or a name right here on the top of the grip. Here's the simplest way to explain how to put your hands on a golf grip. If you're right-handed, obviously follow this the way. Um, put your left hand on the grip and put your thumb right down the top of that grip. If it leans a little bit to the right side of it, that's probably good. And then you want to put your right hand so that the pads of your right hand fit right over the top of that left thumb. And now you create a V shape with your thumb and forefinger, your index finger, and that V shape points right up your arm to your right shoulder. So it should look like this, looking straight on from you. Or look like this. And the reason you have your hands like this is because the hinge action in your wrists goes like this during a swing. And I'll show you exactly where that happens in just a second. But this is the only action that your wrists do. Some people think your wrists are supposed to move like this, and that's not true. You don't want this. Your wrists move like this. Now, the simplest way to explain how to swing a golf club is if you're standing straight up, put your feet about shoulder width apart, hold the club straight out in front of you so that the shaft of it is parallel to the ground. And then doing this, just turn your shoulders and your hips to your right and let the club and your arms turn with that. As I'm holding this club, my upper arms are still touching my rib cage right down here. So I'm going to turn this way, and then I'm going to turn to my left. Now, as I do this, I'm kind of keeping my feet steady most of the way around. And you might notice one little move that my right foot makes. When I get to this point, I kind of come off my right foot a little bit, and I get my weight to my left foot. This is how my feet finish the swing. So I'm just turning to my right and turning to my left, and I'm keeping my upper arms connected to my rib cage. So now you might notice as I'm doing this, watch what my hands are doing. They're very gently rolling. Not quickly, very gently rolling back and forth. So that when I get to the backswing right here, the face of the club is kind of facing the sky. And then when I get over here, the face of the club, the face is this part that has the grooves in it, the lines, those are called grooves. This is the face of the club, the part that hits the ball. You want that over on this side to be facing the ground. Very gently rolling my hands. And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, Paul, you don't really swing a club like this because the ball is sitting on the ground, right? You're right. And we're going to make that adjustment in just a second. But I just want to show you that this is the basic move of a golf swing. Your arms and your body work together, and they're just turning back and forth. And your hands gently roll back to this point, because this is how the club should look when it gets back to the ball. So you turn it that way, then you roll your hands back to this point at the ball, and then they roll through after the ball. Now, here's the move that gets the club down to the ball. I'm going to bend at my waist. Now, I can hit a ball that's sitting right where that club would end up. Once again, club parallel to the ground, my upper arms touching my ribs. I'm just going to bend at my waist. Now, I can hit a ball right there. You think, well, do you wrap the club around your back like you just were? Not exactly. Now, as I bend at my waist, watch what happens to what the club is doing. I'm going to gradually bend at my waist, but I'm going to keep making this same turning move. As I bend my waist, and my spine is now tilted, you notice the club comes up over my shoulder on the way back and the way through, as opposed to around my back when I was holding it parallel to the ground like this. So I'm going to bend my waist, which is going to change the plane of the club. Now it's over this shoulder and then over this shoulder. That's the simplest guide I can give you as to how to swing a club. Is from the club resting behind the ball, take the club up, turn your body, get the club over this shoulder. And oh, by the way, remember I told you this is the only move your wrists make? They make that move right here. Right here. Then you turn your body back to the ball and through, and then they make that move again right here. That's the only move your wrists make. Nothing else at any point. Arms connected to your ribs, until right here. Then your wrists make a little move there. Then you turn back through and they make that little move here. Club over my right shoulder, club over my left shoulder. Just like this. So if you notice, if that doesn't feel natural to you, one thing you should look at is how are you holding the club? Look back at where your thumbs are. You should have this thumb going down the top of the grip, leaning to the right side just a little bit, and then this thumb should be over on the left side of the grip. So the main idea behind why you put your hands on the grip this way is so that you can do this wrist action, and when you get back to the ball, after you've swung the club back and then come back to the ball, you basically want to have your right hand in a position so that you could feel like you're hitting the ball with the palm of your right hand. So you put your hand on the grip so that if you open your fingers, the palm of your hand is in line with the face of that club. For beginners, that's the easiest way to make sure your club face is going to be in the right direction when you get the club back to the ball. So with your feet shoulder width apart, whenever you're hitting an iron like I have here, you want to put the ball right in the middle of your feet. So as I stand with my feet about shoulder width apart, if I were to draw a line from the ball back to my feet, that line would be right in the middle. Then when I get to the longer clubs, like a hybrid, I'm going to move the ball a little bit closer to my front foot. So instead of the middle would be right there, with a hybrid, I'm going to put it a bit, just about 3/4 of the way to my front foot there. Then when I use a driver and I put the ball up on a tee, I'm going to have that ball just inside my front foot, basically in line with my front heel, like this. These are how you set up to the different clubs. And the main idea behind the setup is when you make this arc, as you make this arc with your swing, notice how the head of the club is making a big arc. And then as you do it at the ground, it's like this. When you're making this big arc, when you're hitting a driver and the ball's up on a tee, you want to be catching the ball very slightly on the upswing. So the reason you have that is because you're just making this motion, again, always going back to this, you're just making a big arc with the head of this club, and then with your bend at the waist, it looks like this. I'm just making a big arc with this club, and because of where that ball is in my stance up on a tee, now the bottom of the arc of my swing is right here behind it, so that means I'm now catching it on a little bit of the upswing. With the irons, obviously the ball will be sitting on the ground in a fairway. So with the ball sitting on the ground, then I want that club to be very slightly on its way down, and I want the bottom of that arc to be right in front of the ball. And once again, back to when I was doing this, I said, watch my right foot. I'm coming off of that just a little bit and getting my weight to my left foot. That's how you want to finish. As you make this turn, you move all of your weight to your front foot. And then as long as that happens when you're bent at the waist, then you've used your entire body to create momentum with that club to hit it as far as you possibly can. You don't make the ball go far by swinging the club hard. You make the ball go far, number one, by hitting it in the middle of the face, and number two, by getting all of your weight transferred to your front foot during the swing. If those two things happen, you hit it in the middle of the face, the club's moving in the right direction, and all of your weight gets to this foot at the end of the swing, that ball will go as far as you could possibly hit it. So with that in mind, let me give you a couple examples of what this will look like. This is a 7-iron. So once again, I'll show you how you can easily train yourself to get ready to hit a ball. You can do this before you hit the ball when you're out playing in the outing. Do this, turn back and forth, get your weight to your front foot a couple of times, then bend at the waist, make the same move, and now the club goes over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, get to my front foot. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Club over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, weight to my front foot. I'll do that one more time. Club over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, weight to my front foot. And as long as you catch it right in the middle of the face, that ball goes as far as you could possibly hit it. Now I'll go to the hybrid. Once again, as a reminder, you don't want to put a hybrid right in the middle of your feet. Instead, you put the ball 3/4 of the way towards your front foot, sorry. And now I'm just going to make the exact same move. I'll go over here. I'm going to make the exact same move. Turn back and forth. Get my weight to my front foot, keeping my arms connected to my ribs. And now I go this way. I bend at the waist, over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, weight to my front foot. Notice I didn't do anything different when I swung at the ball. Right shoulder, club over the right shoulder. There's my wrist hinge that I told you about. Right shoulder, left shoulder. Weight to my front foot. Now, one thing I tell beginners, the easiest way to make sure you get that club to make contact with the ball, depending on what color club head you've got. With the irons, they're typically silver, sometimes they're black. This particular hybrid has a white head on it. What I say is, watch when you do a practice swing, watch where the head of that club paints a stripe, right? Like this, the head of this club is white, so I'm going to paint a white stripe just above the ground when I swing this club. Watch where that white stripe is, and then when you step up to the ball, start with the club right where that stripe is going to be, as you just noticed it as you swung. So now I'm going to step up to where that stripe's going to be, where it felt like it was when I made that swing. I just took the club over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, finished on my front foot. So now with the driver. Once again, with the driver, you put the ball up on a tee. When it comes to how high you put the ball up on a tee, take the head of your driver, set it right behind the ball, and you want the middle of the ball, this is a guideline, but you want the middle of the ball to about match where the top of the head of the driver is, right at the top of the face, right here. That's typical. You can adjust either higher or lower depending on how you're swinging the club, but if you do that, that's a good guideline to follow. But now the same thing. My arms are touching my ribs. I'm going to turn back and forth, gently rolling my hands back and through, finishing on my front foot. Then I'm going to bend at the waist, over my right shoulder, over my left shoulder, finish on my front foot. So now that's the simplest way to approach how to hit a shot with a full swing in a charity outing if you don't play golf very much or if you've never played at all. And there are going to be times when you're out there that you may not have to take a full swing. So I've got another video on my channel that talks all about chipping and shorter shots around the green. So go check that video out. And say yes, I'll play in that charity outing. Get out of the office for a day. Get out in the sun. Have some fun. It's going to be a great time. You'll have a few drinks. It'll be great. Say yes.
You're watching Nichols Golf. Like, subscribe, and share this channel with your friends who also want to get better at golf.